Does your vehicle do this? Won't start, just clicks. Well, let's go find out why. Starter removal on a 2003 Chevy Montana. Oh, sorry, 2006 Chevy Montana. Starter removal. Okay, folks, you see this bracket here? It goes from the transmission to the motor. That needs to be removed. Don't mind the ratchet sounds banging up against the K-frame. It needs to happen. If you want to be gentler, it'll take you more time. I'm working in some pretty cold environments right now. And time is a factor, and I want to hurry through this. And the reason why we need to remove this bracket is to get to the starter bolts to remove the starter, which I'll show you in a minute. And the reason why I'm removing the starter is because the solenoid went bad. And the bolts to remove this bracket are a 15mm in size. Two bolts up against the oil pan and one bolt up against the transmission. Okay, there's the removal of the bracket. Okay, now you can see a bolt up in here, and there's another bolt up in here. Those two need to be removed. Now you want to disconnect your battery before you make that starter too loose, so you don't short out the back contacts on the relay. You can see the relay's way up in here. You can see the contacts back in here, and there's one power lead that's going directly to the battery. And then you have your trigger wire, which is here. And you don't want any of these contacts on here shorting out on any metal product that's back there. So you want to unhook the battery first so that does not happen. Okay, I'll be back with you. Okay, the two starter bolts are removed and the starter becomes loose. Now next what you need to do is you need to undo the top post where the battery cable comes onto. It's the top post, that's a 13mm, and then the starter trigger wire is an 8mm, and it needs to come out. That little nut you see there up in here, that nut needs to be released, and then that little trigger wire will come off, and then the starter is free to come out. So let me go ahead and get that little nut off, and I'll be back with you. Okay, now the trigger wire is removed. Now you just a matter of maneuvering it until you can get it out. There's actually quite a bit of room, so it comes out quite easily. Okay folks, I'm gonna get to the solenoid here and try and diagnose why it's not working and change it if it needs to be changed. Be back with you. Okay, the starter's out and I detected that the solenoid's bad, and to replace the solenoid there's 3 screws that are back here. One, and there's one inside of here, and there's one inside of here. They need to be removed. And then on the back post you have the wire that's feeding the starter. On the post here you need to undo that nut, which is 13mm. You need to remove that, and then the solenoid will just slide out, and you lift up on the back side here, and there's your solenoid. There's a pin, this pin groove here goes into that slot inside there, you see it? That's what engages your starter. Here, let me see if I can show you. You see? Oh, I can't do it. But yeah, it makes this wheel go back and forth like this. Makes it kick out and in, kick out and in, kick out and in, and that's what the solenoid does. It's basically just a magnetic coil inside here that makes this shoot like that, which moves that arm inside it. Here I showed you, that little fork looking thing, and makes your little gear here. Come out and come out and come out, and goes in your rain gear on your engine and allows it to turn over and start. So what needs to happen here is the solenoid needs to be changed. The contacts beneath this plastic piece in here, they have lost contact and it's no longer good. Okay, I'll be back with you when I get it back together and I'll show you the installation process. Okay, picked up a new solenoid. Now we're going to install the solenoid. So you see this little fork here? You want to make sure that is towards the back end of the starter, and you're going to do that by maneuvering this gear here. You're going to pull it outward.
The hang is that?
It's the camera. Then you need to go inside. Pull backwards so you make sure you got connection to it. And that's it. And then you push it in, line up the holes, and put the screws back in. So I'll be back with you when I do that. Alrighty, back with you. These little bolts here is a 4mm. They're kind of a hexagon shape. Torx bit type deal will also work, but a 4mm socket will work, and grab a hold of these, tighten them up. Then after that, you take this post here and your starter cable, and it goes on. And you put your lock washer on. And you put the nuts on. And this here's a 13mm. And we tighten it up. 2006 Montana van, folks. Not super tight, just nice and tight. That's it. Now the installation is ready to go. Be back with you. Okay, back. Now we're going to reinstall it in the 2006 Montana. So what we're going to do first here is I'm going to just kind of roughly place it up and get these main wires that are coming from the battery in place first. You can see them up here. They're going to much easier to do it while the starter's loose like this, instead of trying to have the starter up. Easier to get to. And then I will be hooking up the trigger wire to the solenoid on the trigger spot of the solenoid. So what that enables, when the key turns, that actually engages the solenoid to kick on the starter to turn over the motor. So I'll be back with you. So let me get this. I can't need both my hands at the moment. Alright, well, the wires are all hooked up in the back of the solenoid. Now all I have to do is maneuver the starter enough to get the starter bolts back in place, which is one long one and one short one. So I need to wiggle jiggle this back into its spot and line everything up, and I'll be back with you and show you the completion of the mounted part. Okay, starter's back up in place, all nice and tight, and now this little bracket here needs to go up where it goes, which is up against the transmission and the motor. Just to support this here, but it needs to be put back on. It produces a strength that you don't want to go without. You'll end up with stress cracks if you leave it off, and you don't want them stress cracks, because then stress cracks will lead to something else breaking, and you don't want that. Okay, I'll be back with you when we get these tightened up. Okay, everything's back in place. The bracket's back in place. The starter's up in place, nice and tight. Everything works. Now it's to remove the support and the jack, lower it down, and it's all done. 2006 Montana van. Thank you for watching, folks. And if you have not subscribed, please do so. And give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down.